In this video, we're going to talk about multi-measure rests, layout, and note spacing. Let's start with multi-measure rests. I've got the selection tool chosen here. I'm going to hold down Shift and choose these two measures by clicking on them. Then I'm going to right-click and go down to multi-measure rests and choose Create. Great, now I have a 2-bar multi-measure rest. The temptation for a lot of folks making part scores will be to click on all of these empty rests and click Create and call it a day. But I don't want you doing that if you're in my class. I want you to create multi-measure rests that are never any longer than 8 to 10 bars in total. So if you are in my class, no multi-measure rests longer than 8 to 10 bars, please. And so then what do we do? Well, this is a 12-bar multi-measure rest if I group it all together, as you could see. So then how do I group it? Well, you should group your multi-measure rests in phrases. To do that, you need to consult the full score and see how the phrases are laid out. In this case, this is the antecedent of our period, and from here to here is the consequence of our period. So if I look here, the oboe 1 plays the antecedent, and then the consequence is here, and it's 4 bars long. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click Create. And I'm going to make a 4-bar multi-measure rest. Then I'm going to click here, and this is going to be an 8-bar multi-measure rest. And the reason for that is because I've got an 8-bar period right here. So this piece is laid out in 4-bar phrases. So this looks pretty good, but there's some problems, as I'm sure you can see. This measure is really, really long, and these measures are not. Sometimes Finale does this. Sometimes it doesn't update the note spacing the way we'd like it to. Also, it doesn't necessarily lay all of the measures out the way we might want them laid out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this, and remember, I'm using the selection tool here, okay? This might not work with other tools. So I'm using the selection tool, I've clicked on this measure, and I'm going to press up on my computer keyboard. And that looks a lot better. When you press up or down, it moves the measure that you've selected up a system or down a system. If I were to have selected this measure, it will move everything in this system up. See that? If I were to select this measure and press down, it will move everything in this system down. Now what I want to do is move this up, and then I'm going to click here and press up again. And good, that looks pretty good. The only problem now is the spacing, so let's fix that. I'm going to hold down Command and press A. Then I'll go to Utilities, Music Spacing, Apply Note Spacing. It's much better workflow if you can memorize the hotkeys, the shortcut keys that is, but if you can't, you can always go to the drop-down menus and choose what you need. So now we're going to apply note spacing, and that will update our layout to look much neater. There we go. That's a pretty decent looking part score. I might make one tweak here because this decrescendo is not quite clear enough. So I'm going to sneak this over. I'm going to double click this and extend that line so that that decrescendo is just a little easier to read. And there we go. A nice clean looking part score. Check out the next video where we will talk about how to make cues.